Am I the asshole? For explaining what happens when I eat gluten? I am gluten-free, not a dietary choice. I have an allergy. My friend Jane held a sleepover a few days ago for her 18th birthday with some other friends. When planning, Jane said she wanted us to try her homemade pizza and homemade cake for dessert. I spoke to Jane later and told her I couldn't eat what she'd make due to my allergy, but I can bring my own food, as I know any free from food can be quite expensive, at least where I live it is. Jane said it was fine for me to bring alternative food and apologized for forgetting I was gluten-free. I ended up bringing a gluten-free pizza and cookies with me to the sleepover, and Jane put it in with the rest. One of Jane's other friends that I don't know very well, Beth, saw and started going on about how it was rude to bring food when Jane went out of her way to make us a homemade meal. Even after us both explaining why, Beth said that it was still rude and I should have just sucked it up as it wouldn't kill me to eat a small amount. She was right, it would have just made me violently ill. Jane made her drop it, but once it came time to eat, Beth started up again, and it got worse when she saw that I had brought cookies as well. Everyone else seemed more understanding as to why, but did agree I could have just sucked it up for one night. So I explained in great detail what happens if I had just sucked it up and asked if they would stay up with me the rest of the night while I dealt with the aftermath of eating it. It seemed to shut everyone up for the night, but it was extremely awkward for the rest of the night. The next day I started feeling bad for ruining the mood and apologized to Jane for spoiling her sleepover. She said it was the others' fault for being so ignorant and she thought I handled the situation better than she would have, but I still feel bad, so am I the asshole? Edit. Just want to add, as I see some people using she her for me, I am a boy. I was the only boy there due to a few things. 1. Me and Jane have been friends since we were kids. 2. I am trans. Foot. 3. I am gay. Not the asshole. First, you had the host's permission, so no one else had any room to say anything in the first place. Second, you explained without going into detail multiple times from the sounds of it. They are the ones that kept pushing the issue until you were left with little choice but to educate them or deal with their BS the rest of the night. I say kudos to you for saving yourself the grief. Not the asshole. If you'd just offered up the info without provocation, then yes, that would have been an asholio move. But considering Beth kept harping on you about it and was starting to get other girls at the sleepover to agree with her, it was time for some education on what sucking it up looks like for you. Also, I hate when people get fussy about food allergies and intolerances. It costs $0 to not be an asshole about other people's dietary needs. Not the asshole. My wife is also sensitive to gluten, although it sounds like not as severely as you. She's had a restaurant serve her a meal before that was marked GF but contained gluten. She felt different almost immediately and paid for it for several days after. Sounds like your friend who actually made the food was understanding, and Beth is just a SHTTY person. Don't spend any more mental or emotional energy on what Beth thinks about anything. Not the asshole. Instead of Beth understanding you have an allergy, she decided to throw a fit. Since she decided not to listen to you the first time, she got the nasty details. Don't feel bad for having an allergy you can't control. Beth was definitely the in this situation. Not the asshole, and Jane is on your side, who is the only other person who matters in this situation. You handled it perfectly. Not the asshole. It's not just a dislike for food but a legitimate allergy. You have every right to keep yourself safe and had made these arrangements with the host of the party. The other friends can understand or mind their own business. You handled everything as well as you could handle it given the situation. Not the asshole. Don't poke the bear. Not the asshole. Beth refused to drop the issue, and the others didn't take it seriously. Maybe now they will. Not the asshole. Beth kept poking till she got the whole 9 yards. Not the asshole. The only opinion that should matter was Jane's opinion. It was her party and she said yes to your compromise so you could join the party. Everyone else is irrelevant and all the girls suck for being judgmental and not understanding until you went into details. That's on them and not on you. Jane is good people. The rest, seemingly not so much. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Jane sounds like a great friend. Anyone who was made more uncomfortable by what you said than Beth's prodding is not anybody you want to be around anyway. Not the asshole. I don't get violently ill. What I do get, if I'm lucky, is a rash on the back of my neck, and if I'm not so lucky I get a fibromyalgia flare-up. I'm glad your friend is so understanding. Celiac here. They are TA, not you. You literally would be making yourself sick. Some people are so ignorant. Not the asshole. Beth was being rude and ignorant. Not the asshole. I have celiac, diagnosed 14 years ago. Some people will not leave me alone about eating gluten until I do exactly what you did, go into uncomfortable detail about what happens. Beth deserved to hear all about it. Many people don't realize how serious this autoimmune disease is and need to be confronted with the ugly truth. I'm glad Jane had your back. Not the asshole. Sounds like you have a true friend in Jane. Not the asshole, and your friend Jane is a good friend. Nope, not the asshole. Your friend is right. They took your allergy with a grain of salt and wouldn't drop the subject. If they want to push the issue, then they can get a dose of reality. You acted perfectly. Not the asshole. I'm also gluten-free and have used this tactic multiple times, especially when dealing with assholes like Beth. If you want me to suck it up, you are going to hear the nitty-gritty details of what sucking it up will do to me. It usually gets the message across very clearly. Sometimes assholes like Beth need to be put in their place. Not the asshole. What does being gay have to do with anything? Not the asshole. Beth definitely was. She didn't let up after your initial PG explanation, and so she forced you to describe the gory X-rated version of your condition. If the mood was ruined, and I don't think it was, then Beth is to blame for it. Not the asshole. Jane understood, and she's the only that would have needed an apology if she had wanted one. Everyone else doesn't get an opinion until they graduated from medical school. Not the asshole. And I am happy for you that you have a friend like Jane. Eating gluten when celiac of even just intolerant can lead to cancerous cells forming. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but Beth is. Not the asshole, and Jane is a good friend. Not the asshole at all. I like Jane, listen to her, and good for you for standing up for yourself. Not the asshole. Anyone who bullies someone over what they choose not to eat is the R, regardless of whether you have a good enough reason or not. So yes, good for you, informing them of what would have happened. Not the asshole, clearly. They are not wrong for thinking it's weird you brought your own food when the host was proud of making some for everybody, but the minute you said I'm allergic to gluten and I can't eat her food, they should have shut the heck up. Not the asshole, since the hostess was clearly fine with you bringing your own food, no one else had even the tiniest reason to complain. And repeatedly asking you to suck it up and just deal with hours of painful consequences was unspeakably rude. She clearly needed the detailed explanation before she would leave you alone. If you still feel bad, then do something nice for Jane, because she sounds like a good friend. You did nothing wrong though, and I'm happy you stuck up for yourself. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Jane sounds awesome. Beth pushed you to that point, that wasn't your fault. And explaining it in detail was really the only option you had left, as clearly Beth and the others did not understand the true repercussions until you told them. It was probably awkward afterward because everyone was ashamed, and rightfully so. Yes, it's a shame it changed the mood of the sleepover, as you put it, but you didn't start that change in mood. Beth did. You just finished it and stopped it from escalating even further. Not the asshole. Nothing more to be said really. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I'm glad Jane had your back.